Okay, there, folks. I actually made the promise to a TikTok follower to do this a while ago, so it's likely going to be multi part. The whole video is going to be on my YouTube channel, and for TikTok, it'll be broken up into individual little pieces. I don't know how long it's going to be, but she asked that I explain how my mind works, how it processes things, and it was an interesting subject, and I think I did this on my YouTube channel at one point. I don't know for sure. Did a real breakdown of how my brain processes things. So I'm going to do that because I do want to keep my word on that, and because it's always an interesting concept to me to talk about how people think and how they process information. So before I drag this on too long, I'm going to get into it. Firstly, I overanalyze pretty much everything. I mean, there are some things where it'll just slide by because I'm familiar with those things. But any new information that comes to me, or information that I may not have had before, comes to me, my mind starts working out how that came to be, and I start a process of elimination of multiple things in tiers. I don't even actively do this as a subconscious thing, and it'll happen as a background process in my mind. Sort of like how you can have like two or three processes going on a phone or on your computer where you have multiple applications open and they're all doing something different. My brain works that way, where I can have one thing actively at the front, and that's what I'm paying attention to. But in the background, there are multiple other tiers layered underneath it, and I'll be thinking about those things actively at the same time in my subconscious as I am actively thinking about something in my conscious mind. I don't know why my brain works like that, it just does. Also, those processes can pop up at any moment. I will randomly get those thoughts coming back to the forefront once they are finished in my subconscious mind. They will pop up to the front of my brain. So, like, say I'm talking with somebody and we're discussing something, and it might be something that's really interesting to me, but they may have said something that I didn't know about, and my brain will dissect it. Now, this conversation could have finished an hour ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, maybe even a month ago, and that information will come right back to the top of my brain and be like, oh, I could have said that. I could have said that. And then it's like, yeah, why didn't I say that? So I sit down and think about it, like, man, that would have been nice to have. That would have been nice to be able to say at that moment. Just like, nope, my brain just like, no, no, no. Now you get this information that would have been pertinent back then. Now you have this understanding that would have been pertinent to the situation at that point, but it's too late for me to use it. Then there's also the fact that if I am thinking about too many things at once, my mental processes, while they are super active, I physically freeze up. Like, you could be asking me multiple questions and I may be wanting to answer them, but my mind is going on so many different things at once that I just stop. And the answer won't come out, even though I may be internally urging myself to answer. Like, answer the question. You have an answer for this. Answer the question. And so much of the stuff is going on in the back of my head. I can't make the answer come out, even though I have one. And that can cause arguments with people. That makes people think I'm ignoring them. That'll make people think that I just don't care about what I'm talking about. And sometimes it's just that my brain just froze. Like, I have so many things going on at once that everything outwardly stopped so that internally I could reorganize it. Again, I don't know why that is. I have listened to a lot of people from the ADHD community recently, and it sounds like those may be the symptoms I'm having, but I don't know for certain. I have no diagnosis on that, and I don't want to claim a diagnosis. But I think in tears. If anybody's ever watched, what's the show? Malcolm in the Middle, where Frankie Muniz's character Malcolm explained how his brain worked and he could have different processes going on all at the same time. This is kind of the same thing. I mean, maybe not exactly the same, but it's pretty much the same thing. And if somebody gets me going on a subject, I can become very encyclopedic about what I talk about. And it brings me down to how I don't like to get into debates with people, because in a debate you have to be able to respond rapidly. You have to be able to talk rapidly. And when I get agitated or upset for any reason, that slows my processes down. Or more or less, I should say, it speeds them up again, where I hit that freeze moment, but now I'm actively moving. So it's hard to just sit down and have that go on and talk without letting something slip out that I'm not intending to slip out, because again, I'm thinking so many different things at once. Or if I do say something, I may gloss over something that I meant to talk about, so I'll start forgetting to add in details and things like that. So like it's a multifaceted thing. Like where if I'm calm and collected, that's the best way to talk to me. Is when I'm calmed down, when I've got my thoughts sorted. Because if you try to talk to me when I'm upset, I'm likely to not process things bleh, properly. I'm also likely to just shut down completely, because I can't end everything that's in my mind, and I have too many voices in my head at the same time. All my voice, but different perspectives of the same voice. And this is where people are like, well, he's crazy then. I claim that. But in the general sense, I try to be laid back. I try to be calm and relaxed, because me upset, even though I'm actively thinking, I'm actively processing, it's not me as I prefer to be. Because my blood pressure spikes, my adrenaline starts to rush, and I don't know about everybody else, but I dislike the feeling of being so agitated that my adrenaline is up and my body's trying to process all of that, and it sends everything into hyperdrive. Some people live for that feeling. I, on the other hand, despise that feeling. I dislike it completely. Like I just don't like it. I prefer to rationalize rather than dive headfirst into my emotions. Now, I could say a bunch of stuff that's correct while I'm in my emotional space, but I can also be very hurtful in my emotional space if I'm pushed too far. And I don't like doing that. I know I can be. That's why I try my best to avoid being like that. It's not worth it to me. Most times it's prompted because it's a response to something else that someone else has said or done. But I truly dislike being in that space. I dislike being in that mental space. If I could avoid being there at all, I would. There are some situations it's needed, but for the most part, I would prefer not to be there. So, And I'm wondering if I'm missing out on anything. Like I said, I do overanalyze nearly everything. You could say something to me, and I will cross reference it with things that you have said before. I will cross reference it with information I already have and go back and think, like, well, does this match up? Does that fit with that? So I pay particular attention to a lot of different things. And I think that that has probably got me into situations where people think I'm not paying attention or I'm just being aloof. But it's actually the total opposite. I'm paying a lot more attention to just all of the other details. I even got to a point at one point where people can ask me questions or ask me to do things. And just because I have heard the question multiple times, I probably physically responded yes automatically and not even registered in my brain. Like, it has happened so many times where somebody has said, I have agreed to something, and I'm like, when did I agree to that? I don't even remember that. But I apparently, my subconscious decided to respond for me and just omit that detail to me, and then I'm sitting there looking lost and confused because I was asked to do something I don't even remember being asked about. And I'm like, and like I don't. When I'm in that situation, I kind of want to ask: did you make sure I was focused on you when you asked me this? Because if you just asked me while I'm in the middle of doing something else, I may have just responded just to keep my focus. And again, I don't know why that is. But apparently, there are multiple people with this form of thinking, and I did not know all of these people existed. I really, truly did not know these people existed. I thought I was an oddball. I mean, I am an oddball because I actively claim to be crazy and say I'm rational at the same time, and somebody's going to be like, "Oh, those things don't match up." In this world, they really do. But most things I try to speak on, I try to think deeper about before I speak about them. And I am no stranger to correcting myself if I am actively wrong on something. But if I am right, I will die on that hill 100%. I may make some small concessions, but I will die on that hill. I will not let people give me incorrect information that I know is incorrect and accept it. Nope. If I know the information you're giving me or giving out is wrong and I step in and say something, I will die on that hill. And I will take everyone down with me. But I think I covered pretty much everything. If there's any details I'm missing, again, they're probably minor details. Outside of me having like several different nervous tics that I can't really control, or things that I've learned that through stress happen with me that I have found corrections for. But several of those are extremely personal, and I'm not going to be talking about them. So I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So if anybody's wondered how my brain comes up with all the stuff it comes up with, now you have a general scope explanation for it.